And now we'll learn about one interesting topic, that is styles of programming or paradigms of programming. These are the different methodologies of programming. So why these methodologies are there? See, when you develop small application, just you can start writing the lines of code and complete the application. When you are developing large application, big application, which is having thousands of lines of code or millions of lines of code, then the program becomes very big and it's very difficult to manage very large programs. So then you should organize your code by following any one of these paradigm or style of programming. So these paradigms are useful when you're developing large application. You should adopt any one of the method for organizing your large code. So there are various approaches for organizing your code, that is various paradigms are there. So what are those? One is called as functional or procedural programming, and second one is object-oriented programming, and the third one is modular programming. So these are the things that are related to Python, so I'm covering these. There are more paradigms available. So let us talk about these paradigms. First one, functional paradigm or procedural paradigm means what? Your large program is broken down in the form of functions. So what is a function? Function is a piece of program code which performs a specific task. It contains the set of instructions which performs one specific task, not a major task. It usually performs a small task. So you can break your large program into group of functions. So you can write various functions. So for example, I have taken some of the functions here. So you'll learn about the concept of functions in this course anyway, but just as an abstract, you can go for now that function is a piece of code which performs a specific task. Then one important thing is, whenever you say a program contains two important things. There are two major elements of a program. One is the data and second is the set of instructions that are meant for that data. So data and the instructions. So I am talking about the function. Function is nothing but set of instructions. Then where is data? This is the data. This is the data. Now how this functional programming or procedural programming work is, you have the function, set of functions. The functions works upon data and the function works upon this data as well as another data also. So these functions are independent of the data. They can work upon any data. If you have different data sets, it works on all the data sets. So more focus is done on writing the functions than on data. So this is more function centric. Functional programming is functional centric. Center means don't look at the diagram here. In the center you have data here, but our focus is more on the functions, not on the data. This is what a functional or procedural programming is. Now coming to object-oriented programming. Now if I talk about object-oriented programming, how this design of your large application is done. Large application is broken down into classes. You can see the class. So what is a class? Class contains the data and the related function that works upon that data. And another class is having another data items and the set of functions that work upon that data item. And I have one more in the diagram, that is one more data items, set of data items, and these group of functions that are meant only for this data items. So we combine the data and the functions related to that data inside one class. So we write the classes and we create the object of these classes to develop your entire application. So our application is broken down into classes and we use the objects of those classes for making an application. So here more focus is on data. So this is data centric. This design or this style of programming, this approach of programming is data centric. We have seen the functional programming that was function centric or instruction centric. Now this object-oriented programming is data centric. This is another way of designing an application. So you can say that the entire complexity about the data and its functions are enclosed in one body and we separate it as a separate class and we create its objects and use them. So if we talk about Python, Python supports both functional programming as well as object-oriented programming also. Now come to the next one. What is modular programming? In modular programming, we define modules. This large application is broken down into larger pieces. The larger pieces are called as module. If you compare between function, module and a class, the smallest piece is nothing but a function. Smallest piece is a function. A little bigger piece is nothing but a class. And more bigger piece of code is module. So what does a module contain? A module may contain classes and the functions or the objects also. So if you say function, it performs a specific task but a very small task. And if you say class, then it is related to one of the specific aspect which contains data as well as the functions related to that particular aspect. And module is a major breakdown, a larger breakdown which covers a major aspect or major task, you can say. Function is for small task and module is for large task. So a very big application can be broken down into major modules, and the modules may contain the classes and the functions together. For example, if you see here, I have an employee module which is having a class for an employee, class for the attendance of an employee, and the class for the assignments given to the employee, means the workload given to the employee, and it may be having some set of function, for example, for calculating the salary of an employee and for making promotions to the employee. It may be having a lot of other functions. So all these things are put together inside a module, and it contains a lot of code in the form of classes and functions and objects that perform the tasks related to an employee. Now same way, there is a module called project that is related to a project. There is a module for date and time containing the classes and the functions for date and time. So this is the bigger level of dividing larger application. Like if you say modular programming, this is followed in other engineerings also. Like if you take automobile engineering, then if you say a car, then car is usually manufactured in the form of modules. Car is manufactured like module. Like its engine is one module and the tires is one module. Its air conditioner is one module. Music system inside that is one module. Automation in this car is another module. Like that, a car can be divided into major parts like modules. So same way, our application programs can also be divided into major parts like module, and that module will have set of functions, detailed functions inside that, or classes and objects inside that. Like again, if I come back to car, then you can say, if I say air conditioning, then putting on AC is one function, putting off AC is another function, changing the level of coolness is another function. Like that, all these are functions together. That's a part of air conditioning module inside a car. So module is a major division of application. So we follow different styles of programming in various languages. So Python supports functional programming as well as object-oriented programming, and most of the libraries of Python are available in the form of module. So Python also supports modular programming also. You will learn all these things in detail in the course. Just we are getting the introduction to this one to understand the power and the features of Python. So that's all in this lecture. I have explained you various styles or paradigms of programming. So let us move on to the next topic in this lecture. That's all in this lecture.